All right, hello, welcome back. Chase Thomas Podcast, taping this on a Wednesday afternoon. First timer, Jeremy Edwards, the head coach, Houston County. Jeremy, good afternoon, sir. How are you?
I'm good, Chase. I appreciate you having me on today.
Thank you for being here. How many times do you get Houston? How many times do you get Houston County from people you talk to when you tell them where you coach at?
You know, that's funny you ask, because we've had a lot of traction through here this spring with a couple of our guys getting recruited, and I'll be honest with you, a lot of the colleges that come in, they get it right. And I always ask them, how'd you know it was Houston instead of Houston? I used to think when I saw it, I'm not from here. I thought it was Houston, So it's definitely looks that way. There's a history behind it, but I don't know exactly where that came from, but it's definitely Houston County.
There you go. What's your favorite local food spot in Houston County? What have you gone to really go to a lot?
Man, that's a loaded question. We don't go out a lot. I got 3 daughters, so it gets a little expensive going out. We like, if we go out though, we're going to go big. We go to Longhorns.
Okay. What's your Longhorn meal?
The Renegade.
I haven't had a
Renegade. Yeah,
okay.
Sirloin. Yeah, it's great. It's great.
There you go. I do my wife and I will do the Parmesan chicken there a lot. Like, it has no business being that good. Parmesan chicken though, you really can't go wrong. Like, big chicken, we're not big red meat people. Like, we do fish all the time, chicken all the time. Try to limit my red meat to once a week. I feel like, are you a red meat person, or are you pretty healthy?
Not a lot. I'm like you. I don't eat it a lot, but whenever I go out, which we don't go out there very often, but when we do, I'm going to get a steak for sure.
Okay. Are you a big coffee guy in the morning, or do you?
Coffee.
Okay. What do you put in your coffee? Is it black, or do you put stuff in it?
No, I put stevia and almond milk.
Oh, I'm also a big almond milk guy. I haven't done dairy in years. That's like, I joke when you're old when you're like, dairy just doesn't resonate with me anymore. Like, dairy's out, and it's just almond milk from here on out.
You're exactly right. Yeah, I'm 43, and it does something to my body when I have dairy, for sure. So the almond milk stevia combination has been the deal. There's a place up in Canton, Georgia, that does organic coffee.
Okay.
Alma Coffee is the name of it. You should check them out. ALMA out of Canton, and their coffee is phenomenal. It's phenomenal. And actually, Coach Eck up at Tennessee, which I love, he came through. He came through the first recruiting period, and he's big on, you know him, I'm sure.
Quiet guy, very reserved, very keeps to himself, that kind of
thing. And he said that the key is don't have like regular coffee, because it's sprayed with all kinds of pesticides and whatever. So I got on the organic kick. So there we go.
There you go. Well, what's your unhealthy, like, guilty pleasure? What would your wife and kids say is the one thing that you'll allow yourself?
I try not to keep chocolate in the house.
Okay.
I try not to eat a lot of chocolate, but it's hard to say no if it's in the house. So my kids love it. It's hard having 3 kids, that love Cokes and things like that, which I'm not a Coke drinker.
Yeah.
They love sugar. They're addicted for sure.
There you go. Any family vacations this summer you're going on?
Probably not. We just got a dog. And
what kind?
A mini golden doodle.
Okay.
Yeah. So
boy, girl.
It's a boy.
What's his name?
Bear.
Bear. As one does. Yeah.
Bear. So he's been a joy, but I don't think we're ready to board him or anything. So we're lucky. We put a pool in during COVID. It's probably the best thing we've ever done. It's not cheap, but it was money, well spent for my kids, and so we'll just get out the pool and watch the dog.
Are you mostly responsible? Because I got a dog right here. Is it one of those where the kids are actually helping out? Was it talked about like y'all got to help this?
Chase. That was the plan, but that has not happened. So it's been me and the wife. We get up at about 5:30 and go for a walk. It's a time where we can kind of talk. Kids are still kind of sleeping, and walk the dog. And it definitely is not their responsibility, like they said. They begged us forever to get one. We finally got one, and it's like having another kid. So I got 4 kids.
Yeah. Well, there you go. I mean, dogs are awesome. It's
Awesome. It's awesome.
yeah.
It's smart, man. I mean, it hadn't taken a whole lot to have to, train it up and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's been good.
There you go. Let's talk some football, coach. When you look at just summer camps and how summer practices have changed since you first started coaching, how much has it changed for you? How much has your program evolved over the last, I don't know, 5 to 10 years of just with where the sport's going, with all these different elite camps, all these different 7-on-7s? How have you had to evolve in how you tackle summer workouts as a coach?
It's changed a lot since, when I played, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
but over my career, this would be my 17th year, my second year, here as a head coach.
Mm-hmm.
Managing it as a coordinator and as a head coach, you just what we do here, which I know a lot of people do the same, is we give the kids, we go Monday through Thursday,
Mm-hmm.
June and July. So we kind of free up that time from really lunchtime on Thursday until you report on Monday to do what you need to do from an OV standpoint, from just going to camps or vacation with your family, whatever. In addition to the dead week, so we try to give them enough time because they are kids and they need to
Mm-hmm.
enjoy being kids. And but it's definitely different, and obviously the landscape's really changing now with NIL and all that stuff. And there's so many different things going on that it's really, to be honest with you, it's hard to keep track of it all.
Mm-hmm. So how do you do it? Like, do you have a real, like, how is there now staff? Is there positions now where it's like, hey, I need you to keep track? Like, we need somebody involved here who keeps track of who's here, who's not, who's going to be in an OV, who's going to be at this
Oh,
camp.
well, I mean, I keep track of it, but I've got a phenomenal staff.
Mm.
We're blessed here. We've got about 19 coaches on staff, 9
Okay.
through 12, 9, the JV and varsity, and ninth grade, and we, I delegate things out. I don't try to do it all, and so I've got guys that I really, really trust that do a great job and love our kids, and we just try to do the best to give these guys an opportunity to have a program that they can't live without. And every day we try to give them the very best. It requires some work. We got to do some fundraising and things like that, but we want to make our mark as one of the top programs in the state, if not in the country. And so by doing that, it takes some hard work, but it's all attributed to my staff. Really, they're really what makes it go. And I've been blessed to have guys that have been with me at other schools and came with me here to Houston County, and it's just I'm living a dream right now, to be honest with you, Chase.
When you look at delegation, was that a natural thing for you as a leader? Or did you have to kind of learn as you go, or were you just being a coordinator and seeing with different mentors coming up through the ranks that you saw how it worked and you kind of were ready for it? Because I know sometimes it's hard to just be the CEO and hands off and be able to delegate, or was that more of a natural thing for you?
I've been around some really good coaches throughout the years. One of them that really made a huge impact on me was when I was at North Gwinnett. I worked for Bob Spire, who has been a very successful head coach, and just seeing how he set up a program, seeing how he delegated things out, and you just have to be organized. I do take pride in being very detail oriented and trying to be organized, almost to an OCD type, to a fault. But yeah, I mean, I just try to make sure that we check every box and that everything that we do, we're making sure we talk through it and we have meetings when we need to have meetings. But I'm not trying to overwork my guys, but we just try to spread the wealth, and we just try to make sure that we're covering all our bases and just giving these kids a great experience.
What's the most important month in your program, do you think, your off-season program?
Shoot, that's a loaded question. Probably in June, just getting them back. May to me gets a little crazy around here. So I'm gonna backtrack. I'm gonna say probably May. We have a lot that goes on in May. We got to juggle a lot of things. We have a lot of things going on, from a kids camp to a reverse raffle fundraiser that's big, to spring practice, to kids that are maybe involved in track and baseball. We got a phenomenal baseball program here at Hoco, and we encourage guys to play multiple sports. And we kind of schedule our spring practice around our baseball program, to be quite honest. We finished up on a Tuesday night, and they played for the state championship Wednesday night and clinched it Wednesday night. So we were able to kind of go there and support them. It's a family atmosphere here at Hoco, and really it's a great place to be. It's really attributed to our administration and everything they've set in place for us.
I like it. You get a do-over game from last year. What game do you pick? And it's not like just a game, like in terms of when you go back and watch the film, like you wish you called this game differently, or you wish you had seen this on tape and you were like, man, if you give me that game one more time, I think it goes extremely different. What game for you would that be? You only get one. Which one do you choose?
Yeah, I know exactly which one. Thomas County Central is the one that I feel like that we had the lead, we had the momentum, and within a couple plays, it just swung the other way. And we had to learn a lot about ourselves as a team from that. Going and playing down there in South Georgia is not an easy task. And we had the momentum and we lost it. And it's a game of momentum. And, within, a few plays that, obviously, every game you wish there's a couple calls you wish you made different. As a play caller, that there's plays that haunt me to this day, but it's definitely the Thomas County Central game.
Coach Rogers got a good program there. Like they're moving.
He's great. He's been a friend of mine for a long time. We worked for the same guy, Steve Dvorsny, when he worked for him at Griffin. I worked for him at Cairo, and so we kind of got to know each other through that. Really, really good guy and does a good job. Very passionate about football and always trying to get better and going to clinics. And, yeah, I got a whole lot of respect for him. I wish I got to talk ball with him more, but now that we're in the same region, we just we'll text every now and again, but we aren't sharing any secrents.
Yeah, that's got to complicate the friendships, right? It's kind of weird when you're actually competing.
Weird. Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, he's very good at what he does and runs a good program, and I wish he wins every game, just not when he plays the Hoco Bears.
There you go. Is Coach Spire your would you say your most I guess your mentor through the ranks? Is he your biggest mentor?
Yeah, I would say so. Yes.
Yeah.
He gave me an opportunity early in my career to come in, and I was actually his head ninth grade coach when I worked for him. And he gave me the opportunity to also work with the quarterbacks with the varsity. So we kind of practiced everybody together. It wasn't a separate ninth grade from the varsity deal. So it was very unique in that way. But he gave me a lot of, leeway on how to run my ninth grade program, but obviously under his direction. And I still called the offense and things like that. His son played for me. His son was in the program. He was a freshman at the time, which was cool.
Wasn't he a quarterback?
Yes. Yeah. Hayden Spire is his son. He's his offensive coordinator now up in Kentucky.
I was going to say he left because he was at Camden for a little bit, and then he went up to Kentucky. Yeah.
He was at Camden. We actually got a chance to play him when I was at Warner Robins.
Okay.
And he was at Camden around the COVID time. And so, I owe a lot to him. Still keep in touch with him to this day. And just the way that he ran things, he did a great job with a program in Gwinnett County that hadn't been very good.
Yeah.
And he came in and really made it a household name in the state, and it's continued on. And with Bill Stewart, now Bill Stewart's, gone on to Georgia Tech. And so it's I'm a Gwinnett County guy. That's where I'm from. I went to Decula, and so
we won't hold that against you.
Yeah.
As a party guy, I won't hold it against you.
Yeah. So it's it was cool working for him for sure.
Decula is such an interesting one. I tell folks where I swear if I had to guess which school has changed regions and classifications more than any other school in the state of Georgia, I would say it's Decula. Like year to year, you have no idea. You could be all in. You could be just know everything about the GHSA. and Decula, I would still not know right now off the top of my head which region and which classification they're in, because they always bounce around with their numbers.
Yeah, so I graduated in '98, and we were Double A, and just the next year they jumped all the way to 4A, and then they jumped all the way up to what was 7, and now it really exploded when they built the Mall of Georgia and Mill Creek High School and all that stuff. And now Mill Creek is, I would imagine, the biggest school in the state, with over 4,000 kids, and so. It's changed. It was a Dairy Queen one stoplight type community, and now it's just boom. It's huge.
Absolutely. I mean, Gwinnett County is just booming, and then we'll see what happens with Forsyth County as that continues to get bigger and bigger, and the competition all across the board. And then you have, like I tell folks, Class 7A, 6A in the state of Georgia, you're not going to find anywhere better and more talent and just better coaching in those two classifications, 5A too, like those upper echelon. And then you just have Class 7A with, you have one region, just all the powerhouses of South Georgia all there, and then you just have greater Atlanta. It's just kind of interesting to see how it's evolved from you and I, like growing up in Gwinnett County and what it was. And I got spoiled with Frank Core and company, like going to games and be on the sideline when Parkview just didn't lose, and you just get used to not losing high school games that you go to. You're up 49-0 at the half, and things change. Like Parkview, obviously, they have a great kid in Mike Matthews, 5-star wideout. He's a good player, and still a lot of talent there. Joey Sturdivant, who was on a couple of months ago, he was part of those teams. And Joey's a good dude, and to see talking ball with him and how much it's changed over 20 years in Gwinnett County. You have another Gwinnett County kid, right? Sean Calhoun played quarterback at Berkmar, and now he's at Colquitt. And it's just kind of fun to see how many Gwinnett guys like yourself and everyone else, where they've ended up and where they've gone, because there was just so much talent, both on the field, as so many dudes who turned into great coaches. Is it kind of cool to just be in that Gwinnett County kind of circle of influence in the coaching ranks here, Jeremy?
Yeah, and you mentioned Sean Calhoun. He's another good friend of mine. We're around the same age. I think he graduated '99 from Berkmar, and we've kept in touch. He started off. He was at Collins Hill and all that. So great guy. But yeah, it was definitely a great place. I might hurt some feelings with this, but it was a great place to grow up for me. But I honestly don't ever want to go back. Like it's too big, I mean, this is home for me. This feels like home. I never would have thought I'd lived in Middle Georgia, to be honest with you, growing up, but this has got that home feel, and it's growing, but it's not on that level yet to that size. So but yeah, I love my roots, where I'm from, and all the success that guys that have come out of Gwinnett County have had, and it's cool to watch those guys have a lot of success for sure.
I'm right there with you. I'm here in Knoxville. I went up here for grad school, and obviously a big Tennessee guy, but I go back home sometimes for different family things, holidays, that kind of thing with my wife. And I'll never do it again. I've told family, friends, I could never do the traffic. Like once you leave Atlanta traffic and the daily grind of that, it's just, you can't just talk yourself into it. It's just a totally different world. Once you leave it, you don't want to go. And Knoxville is definitely, like, you have the city, but traffic's not really a big issue when you're in a college town, and kind of like where you're at, where you're like, I'm good. I'm good with this simpler way of life, and kind of just being on the outskirts a little bit.
No doubt. It's funny when people here talk about the traffic being bad. You have no idea.
Yeah, that drives you nuts, right? Like you're just like, you don't know what traffic is. Like that's
wild.
You had a minor inconvenience.
When I lived in Cairo, a traffic jam was getting right behind like a tractor. That was the only thing that would slow you down. Like there's literally nobody on the roads. So it's cool. Yeah. The state's so different, like you said, from south to north and middle. It's a cool place to be.
Absolutely. Where do you think you're deepest right now in your roster? Where do you feel the strongest positionally going into this fall?
I mean, we've got a pretty strong receiving core. We've got 2 guys with Power 5 offers and 1 guy with several Group of 5 offers. And so being able to have 3 of those guys, we're an 11 personnel team, so we operate mainly in 11 personnel with a tight end. So all we need is 3 wideouts, and we're rolling out 3 of them that I feel like are really good, and been doing a good job through the recruiting process. You got to keep kids grounded. There's a lot going on, in addition to just getting recruited. Back when you and I were in school, it's different. You've got social media and all this attention, and so that I think our kids have done a really good job of managing that, and then making sure that they're here for team activities and doing things and trying to get HOCO to, which our goal is to win a state championship.
There you go. I like it. The biggest loss from last year's team to replace is going to be who for you?
Oh, to be honest with you, we had a kid last year that was a D lineman his entire career. Again, this was my first year last year as head coach, and we had a need at right tackle. We didn't have a right tackle, and so we really needed to get a guy in that could play. And so we pulled a kid over named Kylan House. Now, his brother Khalil is highly recruited right now. Several Power 5 offers at guard for us. So they played side by side. And the fact that kid was able to, because if you're telling a D lineman, hey, I need you to go play O-line, that's tough. That's tough on it. Any of them big guys, if you give them a choice, they want to play D-line, rush the passer, do all that good stuff. So he did it seamlessly and was really good at it. And his attitude when we asked him to do that, it was whatever it is to help the team. So as soon as that happened, and then he started having success, and he's going to be a preferred walk-on at Georgia Southern. He's not as big as his younger brother, but super talented kid. So I would have to say Kylan House is going to be the one that we've got to replace right now at right tackle.
Do you have is it a southpaw under center this year or no?
No, he's a righty.
Well, that's good. That's good.
Yeah, I coached one southpaw in my career. And that was when I coached at Berkmar.
Okay.
So no one. All my kids think this is a pretty cool fact, but I coached Quavius Marshall of the Migos, Quavo. He was so I call him Quavius. We didn't call him Quavo back then. I know that's his name now, but so he was my quarterback at Berkmar.
And he's your only southpaw quarterback you've ever coached?
I've ever coached. Everything's backwards when you coach a left-handed guy.
Yeah. Does it make it harder?
As a coach, yeah. I mean, when you're demonstrating different things, footwork and things like that, it's reversed. So that year was, and that was early in my career too. So it really challenged me there as a coach.
That's awesome. I never knew that. That's amazing. I did. That's
the
who knew
the cool thing about it, honestly, Chase, is that throughout my time here, my quarterback AJ Hill, who's a junior now, he's 6'5", 215-pound 15-year-old. That's super talented, and he plays on the 7-on-7 circuit and all that. Well, he plays for the Huncho Elite, which is my former quarterback's team. So we've reconnected. We didn't have cell phone. We didn't do cell phones back then when Quavius played, and so we've been able to reconnect and FaceTime and do all that. So it's been pretty cool.
Are we gonna get a HOCO song from Quavo at some point?
I don't know, but I'm working on getting him to come to a game now. He's told me he's going to. So as soon as he does that, I think that's going to be huge. I know our kids will love it.
There you go. That's cool. Small world, man. You never know these kids, like who they're going to end up being or who they're going to end up, like who you're coaching and that sort of thing. But that's an awesome fun fact. You're not going to find a better one in state of Georgia than your only left-handed quarterback was actually Quavo at your point. What's the hardest position to get kids to buy into? Like when they're coming up and you're trying to feel things out, 14, 15, like you mentioned, like if you give a kid an option, he's going to want to play D-tackle or defensive line edge over offensive line. Is that the hardest one to get them to sell, offensive line, or is it another position to get them to buy in on?
Absolutely offensive line, for sure.
Why is that?
It's a thankless job, you think of it like that. Now, I've got a phenomenal coach for our offensive linemen that does a great job of building relationships and getting those guys coached up, giving them a family type feel to it. They do a lot of stuff together as a group. And so, I think you got to have the right guy coaching that position for sure. Got to be somebody detailed and makes it fun. And I think what we do offensively, schematically, it's a little bit more fun for our guys. They like it. They like the pace that we play at, much like what they do at Tennessee. And so it's I would definitely say the offensive line is for sure the toughest position, and it might be the hardest too. I mean, pass protection is very hard at all levels from the NFL down. It's not easy, and you're having to block guys that are super, super athletic and trying to rush the passer. So it's offensive line for sure.
But it's also, I mean, you get, if you're a tackle and you project into developing in a tackle body, like those guys get paid. Those guys are high value dudes nowadays.
No doubt.
Yeah. Well, there you go, Coach. Last thing here as we wrap up. When you look at this upcoming season, is there a slate of games that you're most excited about to learn about what your team is with the schedule? Does it you feel pretty good about it? Is it getting Lee back again? See how that goes this go around. What have you already circled going into this fall?
Well, there's a lot of question marks right now because we've got, Northside and Warner Robins both have a new head coach. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do from a schematic standpoint and how their kids take to that. Obviously, in region, we've got a tough region, Northside being one of those games. But the two that you got to win if you want to try to compete for a region championship is you got to beat Lee and you got to beat Thomas County Central.
Yeah.
And both of those teams we get at home this year.
It's big.
Huge. Last year going to Lee, that might be one of the hardest places to play. Honestly, you don't get any calls there. And then obviously with what Justin's doing at TCC, he's got them back on track to the success that they're used to having there. So those two games for sure. I know our kids, it won't take much to get them jacked up for those two.
There you go. Coach, how do the good folks out there in HoCo and Middle Georgia, South Georgia, North Georgia, how do they support your program this summer going into this fall?
How do they support us?
Yeah, how do they support you? Where do they follow? What can they go see? What would you suggest they do?
Well, I mean, we're going to go to Auburn tomorrow for a 7-on-7. The following Thursday, we'll be at Georgia for the 7-on-7, and then we'll wrap up the competition type because that's kind of its own sport. To be quite honest, it's a little different. How
hands-on are you for those events?
I still call the offense.
Okay.
So I've got an offensive coordinator, but I still call the offense. That's just not something that I'm ready to give up right now. I don't know that I ever will, to be honest. It's just that much fun. Keeps me involved. I'm not really the CEO type, just to kind of sit back. But I mean, I feel like we've got a really good website. If anybody wants to go to it, it's hocofootball.com. We got a pretty big presence on Twitter and we got a Facebook page. I think it's a private group, but really on Twitter, Instagram is run by kids at our school and the video department. They kind of handle that. But we try to give our kids, we try to put our brand out there. And this place was when Jake Fromm played here, it was booming. And when I got the job, I knew that we had talent. We needed to get these kids to believe in themselves and playing with some mojo and some swagger. And I think we're starting to kind of get that coming off a 10-win season. And so, that's huge. And so we want to try to make a name for ourselves here on Highway 96. And we're just going to keep trying to get 1% better every day. I know it sounds cliche, but it's, we're studying a book right now. I got it right here. We're doing a book study with our team. Keep Chopping Wood. It's a great book. It's not real big, as you can see. So it's, it's their summer reading, and we do it with our leadership council. And so we're talking about that every day and what it means to keep chopping wood, not for today, but for tomorrow to build the fire. So we're going to keep trying to get better and see where it goes this year.
There you go, Coach. Thank you so much for the time today. This was a blast. I appreciate you making the time.
I appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely, and we'll check back in again when the regular season gets going and really get into ball, which is only 2 months away. It's kind of wild that we're nearing.
It's
we're nearing
wild.
that time. Jeremy,
yes,
thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll talk to you again soon.
Well done, nephew. Chase Thomas Podcast. Hell yeah.